Outstanding.
Welcome again to another tutorial video. It's about Eldorado and Ting. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell notification button. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and check out EldoradoProductions.com for a bunch of goodies. Now, on this particular day, I received an email about how many EQs or if there are stages to EQing vocals. So I've decided to do one in particular on this song that I've done for Was, an artist that I'm producing. The song recently released titled No Regular Bruh. You can check him out on Instagram also. Now, EQ, um, if you're not, if you're constant, if you're consistently using EQ, you will get familiar with the sound of the EQ because most of these EQs are modeled from something, while some tend to be transparent, even if they are modeled from something. Now, getting used to the sound of the EQ are what parts of the EQ sound good on what material. That's a bit challenging. You constantly have to be using these EQs, to or be somewhat mixing for a very long time to really know if you can really use this or that EQ, or if you attain a new EQ, you can really have fun with the sound or something like that. Now, there are stages of EQ that I use on vocals or throughout my whole mixing process, but for this particular video, I'm going to focus on the vocals. Now, for um, the vocals in mono, I tend to start with corrective EQ, and for this particular song, what I did first is subtract the bypass this plugin. Make it here bypass all the EQ that's are 1, 2, 3, 4 EQ. So this is what it sounds without this corrective EQ.
And a regular breath. And a regular breath.
See if we can turn off all the effects except this one.
And a regular breath. And a regular breath. Yay.
And this is how it sounds with it.
And a regular breath. And a regular breath. Yay. And a regular breath. And a regular breath.
So this first stage of EQ, what I did for this particular vocal, why I haven't used any high pass filter is because on the microphone, the high pass filter was already selected on the microphone, so most of the signal below 75 hertz was cut off, so I needed not to do any more high pass filter at this stage with an EQ. However, I have heard a song recently by an artist that I have produced already. Someone else mixes the vocals, and the body of the vocal was cut out. I mean, it sung good, but the only thing that I thought that was missing from it, probably I just saw him like it, or the engineer, what the artist really find it for sound weird, but what it missing, it was the body. So you have to be careful of what and how much you cut out from the low mids, because the low mids contain the body of the vocal. So I mean, there are sounds down in that frequency, this low mid frequency, that it makes vocal sound boxy or muffled or something like that. So you have to be careful of the amount that you cut, and so that it won't lose the body of the vocal. Now, the second stage of the EQ that I use the Pro Q3 from FabFilter still. and with all the process that has happened before it, I still had to cut a little bit more low mids, as you can see, in different era from the previous one, because I cut this one pretty much wide. You can cut it really narrow if needs be, but for this particular one, I tend to cut it start wide, and while doing corrective EQ again, as you can see, I haven't started boosted it. In some cases, I tend to boost even before I started to add um, corrective EQ. It's just the vibe that I'm working with. But for this particular vocal, I did two corrective EQing before, or subtractive EQ, before I started to boost. So as you can see, the 5 and the 2 hertz range. This one is still in the 2, the 490, and the almost 900. So I'm going to play it without it.
And a regular bruv, and a regular bruv, yay. And a regular bruv, and a regular bruv, yeah. And a regular bruv, and a regular bruv.
So as you can see, a tiny bit of the body has been removed again, but it also became a lot more clearer for you to hear. So let me play it one more time, with and without. So this is with.
And a regular bruv, and a regular bruv,
Without.
yay. And a regular bruv, and a regular bruv,
With.
yeah. And a regular bruv.
So as the muffle, the nasal tone.
And a regular
As you can hear, there's a ringing inside of the vocal, and in another tutorial video I will show you how to find rings in the vocals. But for this particular one, I found ringing here, in which this is somewhat of a wide band for corrective EQ, but this is how I did it for this particular vocal. You can use more narrow bands to cut. It just depends on what you really, and how much of it you really want to cut out. So for the third stage of the EQing for this particular vocal, I use Dangerous Box EQ from Plugin Alliance. And what I did for this particular one, I cut some of the highs. It has a slight curve like this when this section is select, and to kind of cut off some of the highs, in which the filter is it kind of shape on a weird way, but it's like I remove some of the highs. While doing that, it may not sound so, but what I did for the lows is add back a shelf EQ to the lows to bring back some of that body to it, because this is it is a nice sounding EQ, in which it is a transparent sounding EQ also. So I tend not to add really much with this, but it helps with the weight of the vocal. So for this one now, we click without it.
And a regular bruv, and a regular bruv,
With.
yay. And a regular bruv, and a regular bruv, yeah. And a regular bruv, and a regular bruv.
So as you can hear, a little weight that has been added back in the bass frequency of the voice, so you really get that weight back into the vocal below the 250 hertz that I have cut for this particular vocal. So I'm going to play it back again, disengage it.
And a regular bruv, and a regular bruv, yay.
Engage.
And a regular bruv, and a regular bruv, yeah. And a regular bruv, and a regular bruv.
So it adds a little bit of weight back in the vocal, in the low end. So it gets back that body that I partially removed during the first two stages of subtractive EQ. All right. The fourth stage of EQing in this particular vocal is I used a Pultec EQ. This EQ is from Nice Ash. It's on a little bit different from the Waves one, because I know a lot of you are using the Waves EQ or Pultec EQ, and some may be using other type of EQ. I have quite a few models of Pultec EQ plugins, but I tend to favor this one on this particular mix. There are other mixes that I use, different models of our 500 series type Pultec style EQ on vocals, but for this particular one, and most of my vocals, I tend to use this EQ. So what I did was I boost and cut around 100 hertz. It kind of adds a weird shape in EQ curve in which it sounds really nice. And I boosted 12K with a very wide band or broadband, and at 20 kilohertz I subtract you can say half as much as what I boost at 12. So it slightly adds ear, but I didn't want the top to be a little bit over eerie or too eerie, so or too brittle, because of the type of microphone that I'm using. It has a slight boost in the highs, so I tend to remove back some of that to give it that smooth silky sound, not sounding really edgy. So without the plugin, I have the analog thing selected. It kind of adds some harmonic characteristic to the plugin. Also, you have control to turn it on and off. So that is what I like about this plugin. That's why I keep on using, because the other models, some of them tend to have it already, in which I want creative control over what sounds how. So I tend to be a really picky with my plugins that I use on vocals. Alright, so without it again.
And a regular breath. And a regular breath. Yay.
With.
And a regular breath. And a regular breath. Yeah.
Without.
And a regular breath. And a regular breath. Yay. And a regular breath. And a regular breath.
So as I can hear, a lot of weight has been added to the vocal without it sounding boxy. So say for instance that I bypass these two plugins, this is how it sounds.
And a regular breath. And a regular breath.
So
yay.
corrective.
And a regular breath. And a regular breath. Yeah. And a regular breath. And a regular breath. Yay. And a regular breath. And a regular breath.
So as you can hear.
And a regular breath. And a regular breath.
It's a nice sounding vocal. So I hope this helped in some regards of how you can replay it with all the effects on it.
And a regular breath. And a regular breath. Yay. And a regular breath. And a regular breath. Yeah.
Play it in context.
And a regular breath. And a regular breath. Yay. And a regular breath. And a regular breath.
So as you can hear in context, it sounds really amazing. It sounds really astonishing. So I hope this can really help in some regards of you EQing your vocals, because there's a lot of time I hear a lot of mixes in which you know, the EQ wise they can be better with the body and so forth like that. There are other elements that to vocals other than EQing, but EQing it properly or EQing in such a profound manner, it can really help with a lot of things. So I hope this example is not the way how to do it all the time, but it is a mere example of how you can achieve great EQing results like this on your particular vocal. So thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in again. It's about Elrod and Ting. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell notification button, leave some comments below. Another name, Danny Dread. Big up yourself. Big up yourself. I have some waves video coming along, so um, be on the lookout for that. Until another time, thank you all for subscribing. Peace out.